On the night of July 16th, 2015, my wife was crossing the crosswalk toward the east at 120th and 8th Street. A taxi cab came around from the Walmart side through the construction zone, was speeding, and struck her head on.
It was an event that changed this young married couple forever.
She sustained several injuries, post-concussion syndrome. She's been diagnosed with PTSD. She has permanent back damage and compartment syndrome in the muscles of her leg where the bumper hit it. So it's been a long road. But
more than 1 year later, Anthony noticed pedestrian safety is still a concern in Dawson Creek.
Looking around on local Facebook feeds, I was shocked by the sudden rash of complaints of people almost getting struck by cars.
Now, he's decided to do something about it.
I thought, well, at least we can get some cheap reflective tape. We can cut it into sections. We can put it out in places that are open all night or open very late. And hopefully, people who are pedestrians can take one, can be a bit safer. And maybe if drivers pop into these places, they'll see it and think a little bit more carefully.
Anthony is now working with local businesses to set up stations of reflective tape so that pedestrians can pick some up and then wear it so that when they're crossing the road at nighttime, they're a little bit more visible. Now, when it comes to actually improving these intersections, last fall, the city of Dawson Creek started a road safety audit. They commissioned a report for the corridor, so 8th Street and the Alaska Highway. Those results are now back. They've identified several areas of improvement, including increased lighting and more turning lanes, for example. But the problem is that these are provincial roadways. So even if the city of Dawson Creek wanted to and could afford to implement every single recommendation in that report, they simply can't.
Most of those recommendations are around Ministry of Transportation infrastructure, whether it's road widenings or signalization or lights or signage, whatever it might be. Those are all under that jurisdiction.
The Road Safety Audit Report has plenty of recommendations. At the intersection of the Alaska Highway and 15th Street, for example, where a motorcyclist was killed earlier this year, turning lanes are recommended. But the potential problem, there just is not a lot of room to work with on the corridor. Putting in turning lanes would require the road to be widened and land to be acquired. The reality is, not every recommendation will be implemented.
What council wants to do now is really just advocate and kind of strike up that conversation with the ministry and say, hey, this is what we see as the priorities, this is what's come out of the report, and just really a dialogue and see if there's somewhere where we can start to chip away at some of those things that were identified.
Representatives from the Ministry of Transportation will be at the next council meeting on the 22nd of November. They want to hear from the city which items in the Road Safety Audit Report are priority. Until then, with winter on its way, Anthony Stark and his wife Virginia hope that drivers will play their part.
It's easy to forget road conditions. It's easy to forget what we're doing, that we're driving around with these incredible pieces of machinery, and just try to have a little respect for the people who are on the road, the other drivers, and I hope people can be increasingly mindful of the fact that it's a much busier city than it used to be.
Amanda Kornowski, CJDC-TV News, Dawson Creek.